Count 1 is one of murder, count 2 one of fraud, count 3 one of fraud, and count 4 one of defeating the ends of justice. Just need you to understand that.
Understood, Your Worship.
Thank you. Mr. Mshlangu.
Please, Honorable Court, Your Worship. The Worship appears before you with no pending cases against her name, no outstanding warrants against her name. However, she has a previous conviction of assault GBH. That would have been sometime 25 years back. She's not certain of the date, but she believes it was before the year 2000. In that matter, she was convicted but given a suspended sentence, Your Worship.
Is the state opposed to the release of the accused?
Your Worship, the state is opposing the release of the accused on bail.
Welcome back, guys. I trust you've been staying safe. It looks like some people are ready to cross all boundaries just to get to the money, because a woman has been arrested and charged in South Africa for the murder of her niece just so she could claim life insurance for her death. Yeah, you heard me right. Her name is Agnes Segomotsi Setshwansho. But for the complication of the name, let's just stick to Agnes. Now, as it turns out, this played out in Pretoria, South Africa, and she made a court appearance and the case is now unraveling. But investigation took 2 months and the details will shock you. If you're ready, just buckle up and let's go. Now, Agnes is currently facing a lot of charges. The first is that she's charged in relation to the death of her niece, and this has been linked by investigators to a multi-million rand life insurance scam. If you are not familiar with the currency of South Africa as a country, they have a currency called rand, just like US has a currency called the US dollar. Theirs is called the rand. Now, Agnes is 49 years old, and per what is being leveled against her, it would shock you. The last time I saw this was again in South Africa, in the case of a police officer by name Rosemary in Ndlovu. I think Rosemary's case is also on my channel. If I'm not mistaken, that is the first video I did to start my channel, and the details will also shock you. She also took out life insurance policies on her family members and then hired a hitman to get rid of each of them one by one so she could make the claim. And it looks like Agnes's case now is Rosemary's case 2.0, because the dynamics are very, very similar. Just that in Agnes's case, so far per what I have seen in my research, she didn't involve a hitman. She seems to have orchestrated this some way, somehow by herself, allegedly. She has already made a court appearance as of 24 hours ago, and these are the details that came out. So, Agnes's niece lost her life very recently, and until recent suspicions, it so happens that her death was actually ruled off as a death by natural causes. So then it meant that if that was the case, then there was really nothing to be bothered about. But then, was that really the case? Well, it turns out that police had some suspicions because some family members had allegedly complained. So they went and exhumed the body of this niece of hers, and then they did a postmortem and toxicology test, and it saw that no, this was not a death by natural cause, but it was rather as a result of food poisoning. The suspicion is that Agnes gave her niece a compromised sandwich, and this led to the demise of this niece, after which Agnes, who had fraudulently taken out a life insurance policy on this niece, then decided to make the claim. But it didn't end there, because it turns out Agnes has other claims in such similar fashion, which she seemed at the time to have gotten away with, because these had already been done and she had cashed out. As it stands now, Agnes is facing several charges, and here are the charges. She's charged with murder, 2 counts of fraud, and 1 charge of defeating the ends of justice. Now, her lawyer told the court that her client had a previous conviction for assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, but that the conviction for that happened more than 25 years ago. For me, I'm thinking that it's good that was disclosed during the trial, but I'm suspecting maybe that was just so to divert attention and make it seem like they are coming clean with anything that they have, so they could have some form of leniency from the judge. But that is beside the case, because it is not just about the suspected means through which Agnes's niece was lost. It's actually been established by investigators that her niece wasn't the first person to pass on for Agnes to be able to make a claim, and that there were actually previous ones. One is her husband, who actually passed away in 2016 under questionable circumstances. The other is her son, who was also lost in July 2023. He was in the university. And then the others are also her 2 daughters, who were lost in 2015 and 2005 respectively. So this brings the sum total of Agnes's suspected victims to 5. And all these are blood-related family members: her husband, 2 daughters, her son, and most recently, her niece. At this point, I'm going to question that saying that blood is thicker than water. Is that really the case? Let me know in the comment section, because per how this case is playing out, it doesn't look like blood is thicker than water. This is a wife who is suspected of unaliving her husband just so she could claim on insurance. Again, she is an auntie suspected of unaliving her niece just so she could claim insurance. And again, she is a mom suspected of unaliving her son and 2 daughters just so she could make insurance claims on them. And it's been established that following their deaths, Agnes claimed large sums of money from life cover policies she fraudulently took on behalf of these victims. That for me is motive right there. And roughly the amount is estimated to be around 1.4 million rand. I wouldn't be surprised if it could be more. But this case just it begs that question: is blood really thicker than water? Because if she can do this to her own family, what else would an outsider do to them that could be worse than this? She is a mother. She was supposed to protect her children. How do you now become the one allegedly eliminating them just because you are after money? What are you going to do with the money? Or I think the better question is, what did she actually do with the money? From the time of 2005, when one of her daughters was lost, through to 2023, all the claims she's been making, what has she been doing with that money? Is it that she made the claim and she used it on the rest who were alive, or she used it as seed money to make other policies for the next victims she had planned for, or what? Or she just spent it, or there's something else? Because usually in such situations, I think there are other things that may come out. Why is she so much in need of that money? Did she have a sort of addiction? Because in the case of Rosemary Ndlovu, she had a gambling addiction. She was actually in debt. So some portions of the money she got from that insurance scheme that she was running was to fund that addiction and also pay off her debts. I'm waiting to see what addictions that Agnes had, because I don't think these things are normal. I think that these things happen when the person has gotten to a point of desperation where the addiction has overwhelmed this person so much. This person is ready to do anything just to get a high from that addiction. It's just like somebody who has been addicted to one thing or the other, and the person most often wouldn't mind even stealing or robbing just so they can get some money to go and then fuel their addiction. So it's no surprise. If you look at Agnes here, she doesn't have the means to go and steal or rob. She doesn't have the build, she doesn't have the capacity. But I'm sure she looked around and she realized she has access to these family members of hers because they trust her. If she brings food to them, they won't think two ways about it, they'll just eat it. So maybe she thought that would be the easy way to get through to them. And per the suspicions and allegations and charges leveled against her, it seems she did. I'm waiting to see how she will beat this one, because if she's convicted, she's going away for decades. And at the age of 47, I don't think she's going to come back before her life ends. I'm thinking that if she's found guilty for these 5 deaths, definitely she'll spend the rest of her life in prison. But was it worth it? If she did this, the question is, was it worth it at all? Let me know. Because sometimes you think that you need the money, but you also have to look at what it is costing you to get the money. In this case, it cost Agnes a husband, 3 children, and a niece. And come to talk about the niece, that means that is the child of one of her siblings. How does that go? Are you that greedy that you are ready to even take the life of your own kids, your husband, and extend to taking the life of one of the kids of your own siblings? I would advise, let's rather work hard on legitimate things so that one day it all comes together and you get your breakthrough financially. These things don't last. You might think you are getting away with it, but hey, trust you me, the long arms of the law will catch up with you. And funny enough, the detective who caught up with Rosemary in Louisville and cracked open her insurance fraud scheme is the same detective who cracked open this case. And that means that there are some good police officers out there. Kudos to this guy. And I'm hoping that they'll get to the bottom of this in court and justice will be served for the victims. It's so unfortunate. These victims were in a position where they trusted this woman, and per the allegations, if they are true, she actually betrayed that trust and she took advantage of them. RIP to these victims. I'm following this case as and when updates are due, I'll bring them up to you. Until then, just subscribe. Help us hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Leave your comments in the comment section. I'll catch you on the next one.